Yo, what's going on, guys? Today, I'm going to be making a video on Scream. Not specifically, any Scream 6 news, but going to be making a video talking about Stu Macher and, giving the reasons why I don't want him back in this franchise and why I don't want him back in general. I'm going to be giving my reasons why in this video and, I'm just gonna, give my opinions on certain things. Now, before I get into all that, though, I'm just gonna start off by saying, this video, is not to discredit anyone's opinions on, if you want Stu Macher back and you're on that train like craving something scary, he's like the conductor of all that, you know. Like if you're on that Stu train, like you want him back, then at the end of the day, I respect your opinion. This is just me giving my opinions and my personal preferences. You know, like this is just giving my opinion and stuff like that, and why I don't want him back. And that's what I'm gonna be getting into in this video, um, because I feel like I feel like around the YouTube community, almost everyone is like around the horror Scream community. From what I see, a lot of them are on the Stu train, but then a lot of them aren't on the Stu train. So it's kind of like you know when it comes to wanting Stu back, it's a very 50-50 thing with how fans feel about it. I feel like and I'm honestly on the side that doesn't really want him back. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm going to be getting into in this video. Like and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. It really does help out the channel, and I would really appreciate it. But yeah, we're gonna get right into it in this video. You know, Stu Macher, he was a beloved character. He was a character that everyone loved. In fact, I loved his character too. You know, Stu Macher was a great character, and I think he was one of the best. And he was one of the best things about Scream One. The original Scream. I really love his character. So this is me. The stuff I'm gonna say in this video is not me hating on Stu or anything like that. Because I love Stu's character, but I just don't want him back. Because it's not because I don't think it's possible that he survived his injuries, or the TV falling on his head. That's not even the discussion here really with me, because you know I do think it's possible he survived, especially because Craven Something Scary, he actually did a video. I think no, it was a live stream where he got like Killjoy Jake and Gory B movies and like a whole bunch of other YouTube, and he created just like this whole like big live stream of just like information proving how Stu could have survived and how it is possible that he did survive. Um, and he brought up really good points, and I'm not discrediting any of that, because it is possible to survive. But I just don't I just personally in general I don't want him back, because I feel like we're moving into a new direction, and we're heading into uh you know like with Sam, the main focus now with Sam and Tara. It's not really Sidney Prescott. And I feel like with me, I kind of just want to keep moving on to new things, new characters, new story, new killers, just new everything pretty much. And I don't want to just like harp back onto old stuff, and, especially like old killers and whatnot, just coming back just for the hell of it. I just don't really think there's any point of that. And I kind of just want to move on from the old stuff. And I'm sure a lot of us do too. Like a lot of us, even the Stu Train people, even they, I know a lot of, the Stu fans want him back as well. Like, I mean, what am I saying? What I'm trying to say is that even the Stu, fans that do want him back, even they want to move on and try new things and go into a new direction. Even they want that. So this is not really, an argument to be made just by, someone like me who doesn't want him back. Like almost everyone wants to move into a new direction, and do new things for this franchise and try new things. And I feel like, but I just feel like where I stand though is differently because I just don't. I feel like we're already going into a new direction and bringing back a killer, a past killer, who I know was gonna come back in Scream 3 because people always bring that up. They're like, oh, well, he was supposed to come back in Scream 3, so it's still possible and whatnot. Like, yes, it's possible, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna happen now just because it was gonna happen like what, 20 something years ago? Like they had so many opportunities to bring him back, beforehand. And I feel like we're just so far into this franchise now that I'm just like, how are they going to bring him back after so long, after this long, and like make it make sense in a way where it's not like it doesn't feel too convoluted or goofy or like it just feels weird and out of place. Like, how are they going to do that? And I know there's going to be some fans that are going to be like, oh, well, this is how I would do it. This is how, I would do this, I would do that. Like, yeah, I mean, you can give your preference for how you would do it, but that doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be done, though. You know, like, I feel like at the end of the day, it's really hard to do stuff like this because, when you, like, I feel like there's not that many franchises that actually pull this off where they, just they bring back a past character after so many years later in the franchise and then like make it make sense. Like it's very hard to do stuff like that and write that in. And I just felt like if I'm not saying I know for sure because who knows, it could be done correctly. But I just feel like in general, I feel like, it's for me, it would feel just convoluted in general. Just to bring back Stu after so long. Like they could have brought him back in Scream 2. If they didn't have to wait until Scream 3. They could have brought him back in Scream 2 if they wanted, to be honest. They could have brought him back in Scream 4, you know? Even then, at that point, that was so many years later. That was like what, 15 years after Scream 1. Even then, that was so many years later, but they still could have brought him back at that point as well. And, Scream 5, that was so many years later too. They could have brought him back in Scream 5 too, but they didn't. And I feel like it's pretty clear that this franchise is trying to move into a new direction, yeah, especially, with Scream 5 passing the torch to new characters and whatnot. Like, it's pretty obvious that, they're trying to do new things and do different stuff. And, that's why I feel like at this point, I'm kind of just over the whole Stu idea at this point. Like, I feel like it's just best if we just move into a different path and a different direction and just move on from the original, move on from the past completely, and just start off fresh. That's just me. I know there's gonna be a lot of because I have a lot of I'm sure I have Stu fans that want him back, and I know for a fact I have subscribers from Craving Something Scary because I know them personally that they're subscribed to me, like Ghostface Fanatic, Jen Warner, Carrie, Cray Cinema, a whole bunch of others. Like they're subscribed to me too, and they're on the Stu train, so they're probably watching this video right now, probably like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe Extron's Extron is doing this. Like, how could he possibly, be making a video with a different opinion than us? But I mean, like, it's because Craven has a whole cult of, Stu, the whole Stu train and all that stuff. And, he almost everyone around him is on that same page as well. Like, wanting Stu back, and, you know, they want him, just to come back. Like, literally his friends that he brings on, random guests that he brings on, everyone in the chat, his, most of his subscribers, like almost everyone that is around Craven, they want him back as well. And, a lot of them are subscribed to me too. So I'm sure whether they comment or not on this video after I upload it. I mean, I'm sure one of them is going to comment, and it's probably going to be Ghostface Fanatic if I'm predicting, because he's the one that watches my videos the most. So he's probably going to comment, talking about how he does want Stu back. And, you know, and just for anyone in general who does comment on this video disagreeing with anything I say, that's fine. You can have your opinion. I respect it. This is not me. Like I said, this is not me discrediting anyone's opinions. If you want Stu back, that's fine. Like, I'm not. That's totally okay. But this is just me giving my opinions on, me not wanting him back and my preferences, because, you know, at the end of the day, everyone's can, give their opinions and give their side of things. Um, and, at the end of the day, like I said, it's just an opinion. It's not a big deal. I feel like, both fans, you know, Stu fans and non-Stu, like, the fans that do want him, that do want Stu back, and then the fans that don't want him back, they always have this constant back and forth, and, it can get a little, like crazy too. Like, some fans, I see it all the time on the internet. There's always the Stu fans and then the non-Stu fans always constantly arguing, and sometimes it can get a little wild, and it's just some fans can get a little, rude, and, over stuff like this. And at the end of the day, regardless of what side you stand on, we all gotta just respect each other's opinions, like, like me, like, I'm not on the Stu train, and I don't want him back, but I still respect others, who do want him back. I still respect their opinion. Like, and Craven's something scary too. Like, he's on the Stu train, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna watch him just because I'm not on the Stu train. Like, I still love Craven something scary, and I love his videos and his live streams, and, he's that doesn't, change my opinion on him. At the end of the day, opinions are opinions, and, it kind of sucks that, these days, like, you know fans can't respect each other's opinions, not just on this, but like just in general. It can, fans can take things too far, but at the end of the day, it's just opinions. So, like, Craven has friends. Craven something scary literally has friends, that aren't on the Stu train, like Fate Decided, for example. Um, Master Chaos, Zach Cherry, Sledgehammer. Like, he, Craven something scary is friends with, with people that aren't on the Stu train, you know, and, they sometimes, Craven has arguments, especially with Fate, about the Stu train and whatnot, and all that stuff, but they're still friends. It doesn't matter. It's just opinion. So, anyways, regardless of all that, like, but for me, like I said, I just feel like, when it comes to this whole Stu stuff, like, I just don't want him back. I feel like I said, we're just so far into this franchise. I feel like what is the point? Like, you're gonna bring, and in my opinion, it almost feels like fan service too, to bring them back after this long, and, like, really, like, like, after so long, when you could have brought him back in previous sequels that came before him, and now you finally want to bring him back, and he's like all of a sudden he wants to kill everyone now, and he's a murderer now and whatnot. Like what? Like that just I just don't know, bro. Like it seems like it would just feel like fan service to me. And I know like a lot of the fans that do want him back, they would disagree, and I get it, obviously, but I don't know, man. I just feel like it just wouldn't make sense to bring him back after so long. Like, what has he been doing throughout all these years? Like, you're telling me, if he does come back, whether if it's Scream 6 or 7, like, how fans are predicting, you know, like what would his reason be to come back in the first place? And why would he randomly start wanting to kill all of a sudden now after so long? Especially because Sydney is not even the main target anymore. She's not the main target. It's Sam. Sam and Tara are. They're the ones who are the main focus now. And Sydney isn't even in Scream 6. So if he comes back for this movie, how would that even work out? And why would Stu be in New York? Just, like, because fans were trying to say that, he's a mastermind of a cult or something, and he's like, leading, killers to kill for him and whatnot. Like, kind of like the idea that was brought up originally for Scream 3, and it just never went by, so then it never happened. But, like, fans are predicting that that's probably the case. Like, Stu is just, this whole time, he's just been orchestrating Ghostface murders, and whatnot, and he's like, he has a cult. But the thing is, why is Stu waiting? Like, because here's the thing. If Stu has been alive this whole time, and he's the one that, is orchestrating all these Ghostface killers to kill for him, why is he waiting why is he waiting for so many years apart to finally, go on another, send more killers to go on a killing spree? That's what doesn't make sense to me. Like, if he was in charge of, like, let's just say, Stu was a part of, you know, the Scream 4 and 5 murderers, like, and he orchestrated, Charlie and Jill to kill for him, or, be a part of, his cult. And then he then, 11 years later, he sent Richie and Amber to, you know, who were a part of, his team to go kill on a killing spree. And then now he's gonna continue to do that every few years or so. The thing is, why is he waiting so many years apart to finally to keep sending more Ghostface killers to go killing again? And why is it now switching? Why is he now, sending killers to go after new people now? Because it's not Sydney anymore. And it's Sam and Tara. Like it. So, what you're telling me, like Stu, he waited. He's just been in the background after so long, and it's just been, he's just been chilling, and orchestrating everything, and no mention of him, no, you know, like really no clues at all to, even suggest that he could even be still out there. Like, people say, oh, like in Scream 5, there was a whole bunch of breadcrumbs. And yeah, but I feel like a lot of the things that people are trying to say that hint to him being possibly out there still for Scream 5, I feel like a lot of the things, like some of them, I can get by. I can at least, I could be like, I can at least understand why some fans would still think he's out there because of this. But then there's just some things where I'm just like, I don't know, this sounds like a big reach. Like, some fans are like, even just simple things like the whole, in the opening scene of Scream 5, like with the whole, like, Tara talking about elevated horror. And, like, there's some fans that are out there like, oh, like, that had to have been Stu because, he's probably older now and he doesn't know what elevated horror is. And that's why he said, what is elevated horror? Like, how does that prove that he's still out there and that he's the one that is talking to Tara? Like, I don't know. Some things I felt like a lot of the things that fans were trying to call breadcrumbs, that give clues to proving he's still out there, you know, and that were part of Scream 5, like clues that prove that he's still out there. I felt like a lot of the clues, the so-called clues don't like it. Just a lot of them sound like a big reach. Like they just seem so far-fetched. Like it just like I don't know, man. And like I said, if Stu has been a part of this cult thing and whatever, like why is he barely starting this cult stuff now as well? That like after so long, Stu has been seeing all these Ghostface killers happening everywhere, and he's just like, whatever. Oh, but now let me start a cult, with Richie and Amber, and let me now all of a sudden start sending people to work for me and go on a killing spree and whatever. Like, why would he barely do that now after so long? Like, it's been so many years of different killers throughout this whole franchise going on their own killing sprees, and what Stu is just sitting back chilling like it's nothing, watching everything happen, and you know, like he's just like like whatever. But then now all of a sudden he's like, oh, but you know what would be a good idea? Let me start a little group on Reddit, and let me get these random people, Richie and Amber, to work for me, and then get more people to work for me, and then go attack Sam and Tara, who I'm sure he doesn't even really know them. Um, and let me have these killers attack them for me, and go on a killing spree. Like, why would he? Why? That just doesn't even really make sense. Like, I don't know. And just in general, like, with Stu, you know, like him, like, being, like just being, like a mastermind in general, it just doesn't really make sense considering, because, this is another argument that I've seen be said many times. Even Craven, he tries to, you know, which I'm not saying this, to discredit his opinion. It's his opinion. This is my opinion. But Craven, something scary, he has said, on his live streams that, Stu is capable of being a mastermind because he, he was a pure psycho. And even though he followed in Billy's footsteps, he literally killed for fun. And while Billy only killed because, of, his because of Sydney and his mom leaving him, and Maureen sleeping with his dad and whatnot. And Stu was the one who was actually the psycho because he had no motive to kill. So therefore, Stu is capable of being a mastermind because he was a true psycho. He was a pure psychotic murderer. And like he has this charisma, and it's just it's just capable of being a mastermind. But to me, though, I just don't really see that, though, because the thing is, if you Stu, the thing is, Stu was literally, half the time being monitored by, like, we know that, Billy, um, like he's the one that was in charge and orchestrated everything. Like he was the mastermind of the original Scream murderers. The whole Woodsboro murders. He was the one that was in charge of that. Stu had no plan or no say in anything. He was just going along with what Billy was saying and just decided to kill. Like, yes, he was a pure psycho and he was a true murderer because of that, just because of him killing for fun. But at the same time, Billy, at the end of the day, he's the one that had the plan. Stu was just going along with everything. It's like Stu didn't come up with any plan. He didn't like like he didn't do anything really. Like he was just going along with what Billy was saying. And of course, I'm sure Billy, had to keep an eye on Stu as well, just because Stu almost got them caught so many times. Like Stu, literally in the first movie, was literally at times, you know, he was about to blow their cover, like in the in the whenever we get introduced to, and with that fountain scene where we have Sydney and Billy and then Tatum and Randy and Stu. They're all just sitting there on the fountain. They're all talking, and Stu is just talking like he's over here making jokes about like Casey and Steve's murder, and you know talking about like, oh, like this is how you got someone. Um, and he just kept talking so much, and you could even tell Billy was like he was like giving him this side eye the whole time, like, bro, like shut up, you're gonna blow our cover. Like it's so obvious that Stu was just like he could have gotten them caught so many times throughout that first movie, because he just and like it was obvious that Billy had to just keep an eye on him like a lot of the times. He probably had to tell him what to do so many times and keep an eye on him just to make sure he doesn't blow their cover. Because Stu was just he was just like out of control, you know. Like I just don't really see him being a mastermind, and he really just did seem like a lapdog. Even Randy said that himself. Like they're really he was just someone who was a pawn. I mean, and Roman from Scream 3 even proves that himself because in Scream 3 Roman had said that he had showed Billy, the video of, Marine, sleeping with his with Billy's dad, and Billy saw the video that Roman had showed him, and that, and Roman was like, "Oh, like you should kill Marine for what she did, and she's the reason your mom left. So you should kill Marine." And obviously, Roman wanted Marine Prescott dead as well, you know, for what she did to him, slamming the door on his face and not accepting him. But also, Roman had told Billy to get a partner in case you get caught and you need someone to frame. So that right there, that right there just hits the nail on the head for me. That Stu was always just a pawn this whole time. Like Billy could have had anyone as a partner, or he could have just, went on this killing spree by himself if you really think about it. But he, you know, instead, you know, he got Stu as his partner, and Roman had said he told Billy, Roman told Billy to get a partner in the first place because, in case he got caught and needed someone to frame, which was Stu. So Stu was just a lapdog and nothing but a pawn this whole time. If they had gotten caught, Billy would have just blamed it all on Stu, and Stu would have been probably the one to go to jail. Stu was just nothing. He like he really was just he wasn't the brightest killer, really, to be honest. Like um I just like it's pretty obvious that Billy was the actual mastermind. He was the one that was smarter and he was very calculated with how he planned out everything and how he killed and all that stuff. Stu was just out of control, and he if I'm sure Stu would have probably killed in general, even if Billy never came to him. But it probably wouldn't have. He probably wouldn't have done it that as soon because I'm like Billy at the end of the day was the one that brought the idea to him, like sooner than later, you know. So really, this is all on Billy and also Roman, because Roman had told Billy to get a partner in the first place. If not, Billy could have just, killed Marine by himself, and then a year later he could have, went on that Woodsboro killing spree by himself as well, or he could have just, found a different partner. He could have literally had anyone as his partner at that point, you know. But yeah, like that's literally what I mean, though. Like people try to say Stu is capable of being a mastermind, but with all these things that I just talked about, I don't think he's capable of being a mastermind. I don't think Stu is even this, calculated and smart to even plan out a whole cult of ghost faces either. Like it just doesn't even make any sense either why he would wait so long to finally want to start a cult of a ghost face killer. And people try to say as well that like oh like Stu could have, he could have, he probably wants to, you know, he probably wants to start a cult because because he just recently found out that like that Sam was Billy's daughter and whatnot. But the thing is though is why would he randomly um because here's the thing like Stu if that's the case then what like Stu could have manipulated Jill or he could have manipulated Jill. Jill was Sydney's cousin. She was also, she was a relative as well. Stu could have manipulated her, if if he did start a cult and whatnot. He was also she was a part of it, and like Stu could have manipulated her too for because she was a relative and could have made her turn against her family and friends and whatnot. But at the same time, it that like at the end of the day, like here's the thing though. You can tell that when it comes to Jill, she had her own plans. She had her own motives. At the end of the day, she didn't care about being a part of anything. She just wanted to just be a lone survivor and be someone who's just by herself and getting the credit for everything and being seen as a hero to get fame and whatnot. That's all she cared about. She betrayed everyone and killed everyone just to get what she wanted. I doubt she would even be, part of Stu's cult thing. And, Sam, like people try to say that, oh, like Amber in Scream 5 said she wanted to be a part of something. She was radicalized. I'm pretty sure in that scene, though, whenever Amber had said that, I'm pretty sure the only reason she had said that though was because she was specifically talking about movies and her and like the whole like movie fans and like how toxic it was getting around the fandoms of Stab and just horror movies in general. And she was saying how she just wanted to be a part of that. I'm pretty sure that was what she meant by that. Like she was mentioning the movies because in that scene like she said like I wanted to be a part of something. I was radicalized, and she had said that, and then Sydney was like, what, by movie fans? And then no, Gail said, what, by movie fans? And she said yes, they're so mad, and I'm just a dumb kid. So she was talking about, like movie fans and just like horror movies in general and Stab and all that, and toxic fandoms. She was talking about being a part of stuff like that. Um, and like I'm pretty sure that was what she was talking about. I'm pretty sure she wasn't talking about like actually her being, like it didn't even, that doesn't, to me, it doesn't even sound like her trying to imply that she was manipulated, like how, fans are trying to say. Like, I just don't really, I don't really think that at all, and like I said, if like Stu, what he randomly at after so long found out that Billy had a daughter, like he couldn't have found that out sooner, and went after Sam. Like now all of a sudden he's gonna go after her after this long, and you can try to make the argument, oh, like Richie and Amber told Stu, and then that's why Stu sent them after her. But the thing is, like I said, why would Stu randomly want to start a whole cult, situation barely now after so long? Like we haven't heard anything of him, and now all of a sudden he's wanting to start his own cult of ghost faces and trying to send them to go after random people, especially if it's not Sydney either. Like I don't know, it just doesn't really make sense. And I feel like I said, and just in general, I just want to move on from just the past and just do things like hit a restart, do things differently. That's what I want with Scream Six, and if they make a Scream Seven, that's what I want with that too. And that's all I just want this franchise to move forward. I don't want them to bring back past characters or past killers. Like I just don't. I just That's just me though. You know, that's just my opinion. And like I just also as well, like what, like, because here's the thing too, is that I always see like fans say that that like Stu, like, because like I said, Stu was supposed to come back for Scream 3, but I honestly, at this point, I feel like we're so far into the franchise that I just feel like it would just be pointless to bring him back after this long. Yes, it would have made sense to bring him back for Scream 3, and I honestly think that would have been better. But now that we've completely moved on and it's been so many years since then, I feel like it's just better to just move into a different direction at the end of the day. Like I just feel like that's what we should do. Like, it was supposed to happen in Scream 3, yes, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen now and after so long and they're going to bring him back. That doesn't mean anything, you know? And like I said, it would have been better if they would have brought him back for Scream 3, but they didn't. So, and I don't know. I feel like so, if it doesn't happen, I can already tell a lot of these Stu Train fans are going to be so upset and they're going to, be angry and all that stuff just because, he didn't come back. Like, because first of all, like I said, not only because here's the thing too, is that I don't want him to come back, but I also don't think he's coming back. And if he did, I don't think he would come back for Scream 6. And if they do make a Scream 7, it would make more sense then. But even then, if it doesn't happen, I can already tell, if we go throughout this whole trilogy or this whole timeline, this new timeline of Scream, you know, and we finish it off without bringing Stu back, I can already tell all the Stu fans are going to be so upset. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, like this sucks. This movie sucks. They didn't bring back Stu. Like, what a missed opportunity and whatnot. But here's the thing, too, is that, like, if you want Stu back, like I said, I respect your opinion. Anyone out there who wants Stu back. But at the end of the day, these are all just theories, and these are all just rumors and speculations. You can't really call it a missed opportunity when at the end of the day, these are just theories that you made up. Like, that's like me saying that, I want Randy back for Scream 6, and if it doesn't happen, that's gonna be a missed opportunity, and this movie's gonna suck because of it. Like I'm the one when I'm the one that who made up that theory in the first place. Like how can I call it a missed opportunity when at the end of the day it's just a theory that I made up. Like that. At the end of the day, that's really all it is. Like none of these things that fans are trying to say that are on the Stu train are facts. Like, yes, it's possible he survived. I already said that. It is possible he survived, but that doesn't mean that he's coming back, though. You know, and like that doesn't mean he's coming back. Like for all we know, Stu could just be like living a normal life after so long at this point. He could still be in prison, or you know, he could just be somewhere out there in the wild, just living his life or whatever, secretly, hiding his identity, or I don't know. Like at the end of the day, like Stu could just be a regular, human being now. He could have changed, you know. Like that's also possible. Like and like I said, like are trying to call it a missed opportunity if they don't bring Stu back, but at the same time, it's just a theory. It's just a theory, and it's a theory that you guys made up. Like no one ever guaranteed that it was gonna happen. So how can you call it a missed opportunity or say that or be upset when at the end of the day these are just theories you guys made up? Like it's a missed opportunity to you, but I mean that doesn't really reflect on the actual movie though. You know, that doesn't reflect on really anything. Like if they hinted at Stu coming back really hard and they like had even, mentioned wanting to bring him back at some point and then, like they had like, even, you know, had made this whole trilogy revolving around Stu in some capacity and then went nowhere with it and never brought him back, or if they guaranteed that he would probably come back and it didn't happen, then that's a whole different story. But no one has guaranteed or has said that Stu is coming back. Or, like no, like that's not it's not a guarantee to anyone that he's gonna come back. So I mean, it's not like Radio Silence said, "Oh, I promise you guys, Stu is coming back," and then they just it never happens. Like that's if they promised it to and they outright said they're gonna bring Stu back and it just didn't happen, then that's a whole different story. You can call it a missed opportunity and be upset if that's the case. But it's not like Radio Silence is out here saying that that's gonna happen though. So it can't be a missed opportunity when at the end of the day, like I said, it's just a theory. Like it's just a theory. So I get it. The fans who want him back will be upset, but I don't think that reflects on the actual movie though. Like with Scream 6 or 7. Like that's just how I view it. Like just in general. And um, and like yeah, I don't I want to get into because I've been kind of rambling for like a long time now. I'm sure this video is going to be long, but this video is me talking about pretty much everything that with all these stew, like all the you know giving my perspective on Stu coming back and why I don't want him coming back, and responding to some of the things that I see some fans say. So I like this video. That's what I'm doing, just giving my perspective on everything, talking about all that stuff. And I kind of wanted to get into this after I've been rambling for a while now. About Dewey. There's a whole bunch of fans that say Stu killed Dewey, and Stu was the one that killed him, and because Amber couldn't have possibly killed him. He was literally overpowered, and it had to have been Stu. And the thing is, it's one thing to say that you think Stu killed him. It's one thing to say that you think Amber killing Dewey is unbelievable, or that you think it was someone else that was actually a male that killed Dewey. It's one thing to say that, but to say that it had to be specifically Stu that killed him just because you don't think Amber killed him, that doesn't really make any sense. Why does it have to be specifically Stu? Just because, like, you could have literally said, "Oh, it could have been secretly Chad or something," and I would have been like, "All right." But some fans are specifically going to Stu, and I'm just like, why does it specifically have to be him? Even if you do want him back, why does it specifically have to be him? Just because you're in disbelief that Amber killed him? You could have literally, said it could have been secretly Chad, or like it could have been uh freaking, like, I don't know, like some, like, it could have It could have been anyone, like anyone that's actually that was a part of Scream Five. You could have been like, oh, it could have been them. But the fact that some fans are actually saying it, oh, like they immediately go to, yeah, it had to have been Stu and it was no one else. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a theory. So I mean, like, there's no way to actually prove that. I mean, if that's what you believe, I mean, that's fine, and that's no discredit to your opinion. But at the end of the day, that's just a theory, you know. Like, what's actually canon though is Amber killed Dewey, and I know a lot of fans don't like that, and they don't like that the thought of Amber killing Dewey. Just because in general, I feel like a lot of the characters in Scream Five were very divisive on how some fans felt about them. I feel like the ones that the characters in Scream Five that get loved the most is probably, I would say, Tara, and probably I'm trying to think. I know Tara for sure, but like I feel like a lot of the characters in Scream Five were very divisive on how fans felt about them. I mean, I feel like it's like that every movie with Scream. But Scream Five really had like a lot of divisive, mixed opinion characters, when it came to fans' reactions to them. And Amber is definitely divisive because not everyone likes her. Not everyone thinks she was believable as a killer. Not everyone liked that she's the one that killed Dewey or believes that she kills Dewey. And they think it's impossible that she overpowered Dewey. But here's the thing, Amber never overpowered Dewey. I always see fans trying to say that, oh, like she overpowered him. No, she didn't. Dewey was literally winning the fight against Amber in that hospital scene, and he was literally overpowering her. And then he shot her 3 times, but she had a bulletproof vest on. And then after that, Dewey went back with his gun already loaded. He was gonna shoot her in the head, but because of his phone ringing, he got startled by it, and that's when Amber got the jump on him. Just for that, from that split second, she immediately went and attacked him and caught Dewey off guard. Um, and that's why he ended up dying because he was caught off guard. It's not because he was overpowered. It's not like Amber was over here WWE wrestling Dewey and over here like freaking like lifting him up in the air, freaking he knocking him out and everything. Like no, like fans are trying to say like Dewey was like overpowered, but it's like how he was literally winning the fight. Even when he literally stated in Scream Five that he had a limp. He was he's older now. He's an alcoholic. He has permanent nerve damage and all that stuff. But even then, he was still winning the fight against Amber. It was only until he got caught off guard, then that's when Amber got the jump on him and she killed him. If it, my bad, guys, my AirPod died. But yeah, that was the only reason why Dewey died, because she caught him off guard. It's not because she overpowered him, like how fans were trying to say. And she didn't lift him up in the air neither. Like fans were trying to say like, oh, like he was lifted off the ground. No, he wasn't. He was literally his feet were still on the ground. It was just because the knife was literally going into his back, and he was being, he was literally like, the knife was literally going deep into his back and whatnot, and his body was jerking, upward, to the reaction of the knife going in him. That's why he was. That's why he lifted his feet a little bit, because of that, because of the reaction to the knife stabbing him. It wasn't because he was being lifted in the air. Like he wasn't lifted. And there's actually a meme about it. Like I forgot what meme it was, but I think it was about that new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where like they had it was like a comparison between like like Leatherface and then and then like Scream 5's Dewey's death, and they were like the top part was like what fans think, which is and it showed a picture of Leatherface lifting up. I think it was Sally with his chainsaw up in the air, and it said what fans think, and then at the bottom it showed Dewey's legs on. It was still on the ground, but he just lifted his feet a little bit, and but he technically it was showing he wasn't lifted off the ground, and it showed, and in the meme it said, but this is what actually happened, and that's literally accurate though, because he, like I said, he wasn't lifted off the ground, and like I said as well, he wasn't overpowered, like he was not overpowered. He wasn't overpowered by Amber. Like people were trying to say Amber overpowered him. No, he didn't. And why do fans have a problem with Amber not being a believable killer, but yet like a lot of these same fans say that Jill was the best Ghostface killer? Or they're okay with Mrs. Loomis killing Randy in Scream 2. Like that, if you're gonna be like, oh, Stu killed Dewey, oh, then I guess the killer in Scream 4 wasn't actually Jill, because it couldn't have possibly been her. She's too short, she's too small, so it had to have been Stu. And the person that killed Randy, I guess it couldn't have possibly been Mrs. Loomis, because she couldn't have possibly overpowered him, and she wasn't that tall either. It had to have been Stu as well, I guess, right? Like, and now obviously I'm saying that sarcastically, but like you get the point. Like what? Like just because they're shorter Ghostface killers doesn't mean, and that they're female killers doesn't mean that they're not believable or possible to be killers. And yeah, like it just like that doesn't and it doesn't mean that Stu was actually the killer, just because like I don't know, man. At the end of the day, these are just theories that fans have, and it's not a big deal, but I don't know, man. This whole like argument that like, oh, like it was Stu instead of Dewey, like instead of Amber, like yeah. So like what has Stu been doing though? Stu has just been roaming around, and he just ran like he randomly, after so long, finally wanted to kill one of the originals. Like what? And like, but what has he been doing this whole time? Was he secretly in prison, or did he just run off after Scream 1 and just went into the wilderness and just like what? Like what has Stu been doing this whole time? Like that, like he just randomly's been roaming around, and he put on the Ghostface costume after so long and decided to go on a killing spree and kill Dewey, when he could have done that a long time ago. He could have even went after Sydney a long time ago, and Gail. But you're telling me now he's barely coming back, especially now that the focus isn't even on Sydney anymore, and especially that something that a lot of fans don't even try to acknowledge as well, because is that Matthew Lillard, he himself had literally said that he literally called the studio of Scream, Paramount and Spyglass, and that the studios, he called because they're the studio, and he called them sexist and whatnot for not wanting to pay Neve Campbell, what she's worth for Scream 6. He literally called them that, and he said that. I felt like a lot of fans don't realize that like when you say stuff like that, like you're not gonna just be like, oh yeah, like this is just not a big deal, and it's nothing. Like Matthew Lillard literally called them the studio sexist, and he was literally defending Neve Campbell over the her not being paid properly and whatnot. I doubt Matthew Lillard would even want to be part of Scream 6 or 7 after what they did to Neve, after what they did to her. Especially if he's the one being paid by that studio, he's probably gonna feel like he's being ripped off too. Like he's not gonna want to be part of that. Like, yes, it's not the Scream
directors or anything that did anything. But I'm just saying in general, I'm sure he wouldn't want to be a part of that if he's saying stuff like that, calling the studio sexist, and he's not going to want to be part of a team where the studio didn't even want to pay her. Like, yes, like I said, it's not the screen radio silence or the writers or directors' fault that Nev didn't get paid. It's the studio at the end of the day. It's Paramount. It's Spyglass. But at the same time, they're the ones who are going to be paying him if he did return. So, and I doubt Matthew Lillard would even want to be part of that because of that. You know, and I feel like that's what a lot of fans don't realize. Like like a lot of fans don't. It's like they forgot about the fact that Matthew Lillard literally said that stuff. Like I don't even know if he would even come back anymore after what they did to Ned Campbell. Like it's just I don't know, man. And that's just another thing too. But yeah, like I said, Stu could have. He had so many when it comes to bringing back Stu, like I said, it would have been way better for Scream 3. But now I just feel like it's just so unbelievable. Like I just don't want it to happen anymore. I think it's just better to move on in a different direction. I feel like it just would make no sense for Stu to randomly come back after so long and want to randomly now go on a killing spree. And what he goes after Dewey after so long too. Like, come on, bro. Like, it just. And if people want to be technical about height and everything, with the Ghostface killer that killed Dewey, I mean, you can, if you want to be technical with it, because obviously it's a stunt man that's underneath, the costume. But at the same time, if people want to be technical with the height, the stunt man who plays as Ghostface in Scream 5 was actually the same height as Dewey. And Matthew Lillard is actually like what 6'2", 6'3", and David Arquette like what 5'10". And like I said, the stuntman who played Ghostface in Scream 5 was literally the same height as Dewey. So if you want to be technical with the height, I mean, it couldn't have possibly been Stu because he's literally a few inches taller than him. I mean, yeah, Stu Matthew Lillard is a few inches taller than David Arquette. So. And like I said, the stunt man was literally the same height as Dewey in Scream 5. When he was killing him, you literally saw he was the same height. So, if you want to be technical with the height, I mean, it couldn't have possibly been Matthew Lillard either, because Amber's too short and Stu's too tall. So, it doesn't it goes both ways if you want to be technical with the height. Like, I'm just saying. Like at the end of the day, it's just a movie, and even Jill, like I said, she revealed herself as one of the killers in Scream 4, and she wasn't that tall either. And when she revealed herself, you obviously she wasn't even the same height as the Ghostface killer, like she. And, you could argue she didn't really kill anybody until she killed Trevor and Charlie. You could argue that, but at the same time, her height in general just does not match the Ghostface killers. None of the Ghostface killers does her height match. Whether she killed anyone or not, it doesn't even look right. Like, it doesn't look believable at all. So if you're going to be technical, I mean, you can say the same thing with Jill. But at the same time, I choose to not be technical with this stuff because at the end of the day, it's just a movie, Like, who cares? Like, that's just how I see it. Charlie wasn't that tall either, but yet, and he's the one that did most of the killing in Scream 4, but yet, in that movie, he was freaking 6 foot tall and taller than Nev Campbell. But then, whenever Charlie revealed himself, he was literally shorter than Nev. He didn't what? Do you have a problem there too? Mrs. Loomis was literally, throwing Randy around in that van in Scream 2. She was if you want to talk about overpowering, literally, Mrs. Loomis was literally throwing Randy around like a rag doll in that van and just completely, just that's overpowering. She was just throwing him around like a rag doll, like it's nothing, like, and completely just butchered him. And like that Ghostface was bigger and taller too. That killed Randy. So I mean, I'm just saying, bro. Like if you you got to be fair with it. You can't just be like, oh, like it's only this killer that's believable and the others aren't. Like no, bro. That just doesn't make any sense, bro. Like you got to be even with it. And like I said, she was literally throwing Randy around like it's nothing, and completely overpowered him and whatnot. Like like wait, what? You're gonna want to retcon that death too? Like like at the end of the day, like it doesn't really matter. It's just a movie. Like I'm not saying I have a problem with Mrs. Loomis and Jill being killers either, or Charlie. I don't have a problem with them being killers. And I do think it's believable that they were killers. Like I'm just saying, just in general, that if fans are gonna want to be technical about Amber being a killer, then you might as well do it for the other ones too, Charlie, Jill, and Mrs. Loomis. Like come on now. But yeah, like, but at the end of the day, like I said, they all were believable. Mrs. Loomis only got one kill, so it's not even a big deal because it's not like she killed so many people. And Jill hardly killed anyone. And at the end, like and she didn't really overpower anyone. Really, she was just like a lot of the times she was just like she had caught her victims by surprise. Same thing with Amber. A lot of the times she was catching her victims by surprise too, and that's how a lot of the people in Scream 5 got killed easily by her, because they were caught off guard. Richie, though, he was able to kill the people that he killed so easily because he was stronger, and that's basically what it is. Like that's really all it is. It's just caught by surprise. It's not overpowering. Like Amber didn't overpower anyone. Same thing with Jill. Mrs. Loomis, like even though she was throwing around Randy like crazy and all that stuff, it's still believable to me because, like at the end of the day, it's just a movie. Like, it's not a big deal to me. And, that's just how I see it. But, yeah, I do think, Amber killed Dewey. And I do think it's believable that she killed him. That's just my opinion. I know I'm probably going to have a lot of comments saying, like, oh my gosh, like, like it's not possible though. But it is though. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just my opinion. If you believe Stu killed Dewey and you believe that Amber's not believable as a killer, that's your opinion. I respect that. But I'm here to give my opinion as well. That's just what this video is about. And yeah, like, at the end of the day, when it comes to this whole and when it comes to Dewey dying in general, like I don't have an issue with it either. Like a lot of fans have issues with it, and I get it. Like that's a divisive thing as well. It's just the fact that he was killed in general. Like a lot of people they don't like that Dewey died, and especially knowing that it was by Amber. That's just a lot of there's fans, not everyone, but there is fans out there that have issues with it. The fact that Dewey died and he was killed by Amber. Like a lot of fans do have issues with that, but me, I don't. Like I already explained the Amber part, but when it comes to Dewey dying, I feel like at this point we had to have killed at least one of the originals at this point. Like you can't just at the end of the day, it's a slasher franchise. This is a horror franchise. There has to be stakes in a horror movie, or else what's the point? Of continuing a franchise. If every character that you love is just always safe and nothing will ever happen to them. Like that's just, in my opinion, that's just like, it's very cheap and just like, it almost makes your character be kind of like a Mary Sue, just like trying to make them flawless and make them just plot armor just because it's a favorite character that people like. Like it's just like, no, characters are bound to die. It's in any horror franchise, any favorite character or non favorite character, regardless, anyone is bound to die. It's a horror movie. Like, I feel like at this point, one of the OGs had to have died. Not Sydney, because obviously she wouldn't have died. But at least with Gail and Dewey, I felt like that was expendable. Like that, one of them had to have died. Like, if one of them didn't die, like, bro, it just would have like been so repetitive. Like Dewey always surviving his attacks. Like, come on, like it's ridiculous. Dewey was never the smartest character neither. Like, he was literally always being attacked all the time in almost every Scream movie and being caught off guard. And that's why he would get attacked in the first place. And he would just make so many dumb decisions all the time. You know? Like that, like, Dewey was never the smartest character either. That's why when people try to be like, oh, like, Dewey would have never done this in Scream 5. Like, why would they just ruin his character and whatnot? But he's never been smart. He's always been dumb. Like, what are you talking about? Like he's never been the smartest character, and he's always been caught off guard, and that's why he's always gotten attacked in this franchise. It's just unfortunate now that that's his dumb mistakes is what this time it actually cost him his life, and he didn't make it out this time. He could have easily died in Scream 1 or Scream 2 or even in Scream 3 or 4, because he wasn't attacked badly in Scream 3 or 4. But in Scream 3, he could have died, because he was kidnapped. He had thrown Roman, he was beating him up, punching him and kicking him. And then later on in Scream 3, in that, Roman throws a knife at him. Dewey didn't even think to duck. Dewey just, let the knife hit his forehead. The knife could have easily hit Dewey in the forehead. And then, but it didn't. It just knocked him out. And, he fell and then he got knocked out. And Roman, he didn't, instead of tying up Gail and Dewey to the chair and to lure Sydney back to the mansion, Roman could have easily killed Dewey and Gail right there. He could have killed them right there. Same thing with Scream 4. Whenever Jill was hitting Dewey with the bedpan in the hospital, she then pulled the gun out. She could have easily shot Dewey in the head right there. There were so many times in this franchise that Dewey could have died because of his dumb decisions. And people try to act like he was always the smartest character ever, when that's just not the case. And that's not, like I said, that's not me saying I don't like Dewey's character, but because I love Dewey's character, but come on now, let's just be real here, And at the end, but these are just my opinions. If you have a different opinion, that's fine. But I mean, I'm just saying, I want to give my side of the arguments too on this stuff. That's just what it is. Like, Dewey, one of them had to have died, and it was Dewey. I feel like, I honestly, and people try to say that he died, like I said, people try to say he died stupidly, but I feel like no matter how he died, people would have still had a problem with it, honestly. I know for a fact that people still would have had a problem with it. I know that. I know that for a fact. It's pretty obvious, but I mean, it's whatever. These are just my opinions, though. I don't want Stu coming back, in my opinion. And, if you want him coming back, that's fine. I respect your opinion, but this video is already long enough. I'm just going to end it here. But, yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about everything I said in this video. Whether if you agree or disagree or anything specifically that I said that you want to comment about. Or if you have anything you want to say in the comments. Let me know anything down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. And yeah, I'm probably going to make another video soon. But man, this video is already long enough. So I'm just going to end it here. Like and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.